What's up, guys? Welcome back to Let's Play Sengoku Basara! Alright, it's time at last to move on to Owari and take on the Devil King of the Sixth Heaven, Oda Nobunaga. So, first of all, we're going to be swapping back over to Magnum Step because Hell Dragon really just didn't work out too well for me, honestly. Still not changing up our items or anything like that. We don't have all the items I care about, which are the ones that give us stat increases. I really don't know what majority of the other items do because, again, the game is not translated, so I'd have to look up somebody else's translation guide, and I feel like that takes away from the legitimacy of the Let's Play. So we're going to be just heading on straight to the action here. Now we have to confront a captain unit right here at the gate, and they're not letting us get through here without a fight. This is probably one of my favorite levels in the game, just because of how everything is structured and the process you have to go through the castle here. The music is also really good. So we're pretty much going to be cutting down everything in our path, and we're going to have our units right behind us the whole time, like a proper battle. Yeah, most of these fights, our units end up getting left behind at the beginning or something like that. They really don't contribute a whole lot. They're pretty much useless. Here, they're going to be with us pretty much the whole time. Like, we are sticking together through this one. Yeah, these are some pretty dense enemy encounters, though. This is a very hard level. And I'm just getting speared to death over here by these halberd knights. We definitely want to deal with these guys. I lost almost all my health on these guys already. I could quite easily die before we even get to the first boss. Yeah, if I didn't say so already, this level is a boss gauntlet. We have to fight 3 bosses just to get to Nobunaga. Well, he's actually the 3rd boss, I should say. We fight 2 bosses before we get to him. Yeah, these guys with the katanas are not nearly as dangerous as those guys with the halberds. Like, that was ridiculous. They just gave us so many of those guys right from the beginning. And meanwhile, our guys are still over here struggling with those archers. We'll get back our health before we make it to the first boss, I'm sure. But you can already kind of see the map where each commander unit is, where we're going to have to make a stop along the way. And there's lots of little intricacies. How did I just fall on my ass like that? I have no idea. But there's lots of little intricacies to the map, like the way we can weave through the different buildings and structures through here to get to the guys easier. Pretty much every different enemy type we've fought so far is going to be in this level, aside from the boulder throwing guys. But those guys that spin around with the giant battering rams, those are here. The poison guys, I'm fighting them right now, they're here. The guys with the halberds and the shield and spear guys are here as well. Pretty much everything is here. Yeah, this is where ultimate difficulty really starts to bear its fangs. But our fangs are sharper. At least if we know what we're doing here. Also, the slightly elevated level there where they stand up on the porch like that, on the deck, the wooden planks there on the side of the building. If you were to jump and use your primary attack, you can still get a few good hits in on them. I normally don't like doing that because I guess it's meant to be used against bigger enemies. But the height difference there, you can really utilize it here and cover some good distance and get a few good hits in on the enemies that are in front of you. I'll be doing that a few times. You'll probably see it on screen here. So, Oda Nobunaga, yeah, he is essentially the main antagonist for this game. He's referred to in pretty much every single bit of fiction and story written about the Sengoku era talks about Oda Nobunaga. And there's countless video games and books and movies and different fiction, anime especially, that has him in some form or another. He's one of the most influential characters definitely in this story. And as far as, because Basara is so over the top and so extrapolated to the extreme, Nobunaga is essentially the most over-the-top, version of him they could possibly dream up. He's not your contemporary warlord. He's not the brilliant strategic tactician. He's just a evil villain. And they make him look as diabolical and insane as possible by giving him this ridiculous armor, this menacing cape that flows in the wind, and he actually uses it as a weapon. And he has this big obnoxious sword that looks like... well, I don't want to even make a Devil May Cry reference because of what we went through with the English version of this game, but it does kind of look like it's the sword from something like that. And he also dual wields it with a shotgun. We'll be showing that when we actually get to be fighting him. Yeah, he's essentially the main antagonist for this game, and man, there's a lot of these guys here. I used my Basara attack twice in these guys. This level just does not hold back. That's why it's one of my favorite levels, I believe. But yeah, and he's essentially the main villain of this game and of the first season of the anime. In the anime, it's basically just, you know, he is... Everybody needs to gang up on him, essentially. That's what I was talking about there with the aerial attacks. Or I could just get shot out of the air with an arrow. Yeah, he's essentially responsible for... There's a lot of characters that I can't really talk about right now because they won't be introduced until later games in the series. But they're in the first season of the anime, and we'll address that when we get to that part. I do not want that guy with his bomb to blow up on me right now, so I'm just going to take all these guys out. The only downside I can really say about Nobunaga in the anime is that they really don't have a clever way of defeating him. They basically just overpower him in a very, you know, shonen Dragon Ball Z kind of who can yell the loudest wins type of fashion. They basically just surround his ass like we did actually in the game by conquering every single land other than Owari so that he would be boxed in. That's essentially what they do in the anime too, to where literally every single other army is ganging up on him at once. And they basically had that plan figured out from the beginning. Takeda Shingen is all like, yeah, we'll just surround him. It'll be no big deal. And of course, it wasn't as easy as it sounds, but they still pulled it off. Alright, look at all that health we got now. Yeah, those aerial attacks are really nice on this level. At least with Masamune, because I know what his range is like. When we're playing with other characters, it might not be so easy. I'm not taking any more hits. Especially not from you guys. Well, okay. Right when I say that, the LP curse has to hit me again. Alright, time for our first boss. Up against Moriranmaru, who is essentially Nobunaga's closest and most beloved servant in most historical representations. He's a kid for some reason in Basara, his portrayal. And obviously because he's going to be high tier, because of the ultimate difficulty and the fact that we're at level 20, he's going to have a very high tier weapon. He's normally the only archer character for Basara. He's the only one that uses a bow, at least in Basara 1. So his bow is heavily leveled up in this one. He actually, he's referred to as Hornet in Devil Kings, which is dumb, but it makes sense at least. He's surrounded by a ton of other enemies here, and if I can keep up the offensive, I should be able to deal with them while dealing some damage to him. He has a very low health, so he's not especially strong. He's still a worthy opponent, but, you know, they do kind of go easy on us by having the other two bosses in the boss gauntlet be really weak but compared to Nobunaga. But that's only fair, I mean, come on. But this is a really, really dense encounter. I need to get up here and get rid of that commander unit so I can get rid of all these guys, because this is just ridiculous. Yeah, he has a few different attacks, most of which consist of him charging up his bow and, you know, using an attack to that degree, which is pretty straightforward. Yeah, pretty much every single story about Nobunaga has a Moriranmaru character. And some, apparently some historical depictions say that he may or may not have had a homosexual relationship with Nobunaga, which is, you know, all speculation at best, I'm sure. But let's try not to think about that in this case, because he is a little kid after all. That would be interesting to say the least. But yeah, he's no match for us. It actually is not. I'm really close to dying now, though, so I should do something about this. I'll just have to take you all with me! Yeah, dealing with that commander unit really allowed us to not only get some more health, but also to prevent more enemies from spawning in here, which is really where we were running into the most trouble. I've not actually played as Moriranmaru, and I don't think I would enjoy it, so you guys can suggest that one if you want. I'll at least do a test run as him, but I can't really promise that I'll do a whole run through the game as him. Yeah, so far, The only other characters that I know for a fact I will record are Yukimura, Nohime, and Nobunaga himself, unless you guys have any other suggestions. I'd like to do Iwasaki Kenshin, and I'd probably also like to do Saratobi Sasuke, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm just not very good with those characters. I prefer to do all the characters that will not be in future Basara games or will be unlockable, so I can only focus on new characters when it comes to the later games, which will make this whole thing a lot easier. And of course, every army, as we've established, has to have a ninja corps, even though most of these armies were not big enough to require a ninja corps or have the means of getting one, although Nobunaga certainly does. Not that we see him use ninjas in the anime or anything like that. Now we do see him, and this is more likely Nohime's work, but we do see an Arquebus Corps, which is essentially guys that have muzzle-loading firearms, actually, which is an interesting thing about the timeline here. They were invented in that point in time, but they were very basic muzzle loaders, and the introduction of the firearm in Japan actually is pretty much what put an end to a lot of the samurai and a lot of their contemporary warfare. So, you know, the firearm really revolutionized the way that war was fought, essentially. You know, if you're charging at him with, you know, your armor and your swords and everything, and the guy just guns you down, there's not a whole lot you can do. But I'm assuming that's just common knowledge at this point. Yeah, the Arquebus Corps here is firing at us. They don't really behave that much different from regular archers, so I'm not exactly worried about them. But now it's time to take on their leader, Lady Nohime, who is Nobunaga's wife. And he's certainly a lucky guy. He's lucky enough to have a badass wife that's not afraid to fight. Oh, how we envy him so. Well, not really, considering the fact that he's a horrible demon person. I don't know why she puts up with him. Probably because she's just as evil as he is. Now again, this is all just an exaggeration. I don't think Nobunaga was ever really this evil, and I doubt Lady Nohime actually carried around 2 firearms and tried to kill samurai. She was actually quite cunning and skilled in the anime, and I just blocked a Gatling gun with a katana. A Sengoku-era Gatling gun. That's right. Lady Nohime just pulled a steampunk retro Gatling gun from her dress and just opened fire. Look at this crap. This is ridiculous. Okay, these are the kinds of things that make me love Basara so much. But obviously the most unrealistic part about this is the fact that, you know, she might as well be Brandon Heat because she never has to reload. And she's just gunning through armies and armies of enemies without ever having to reload. And she dual wields the 2 pistols, and you know, we'll get to that when we actually play as her. It's quite interesting. She does have some close range melee attacks, which we really can't use as her. Her primary attacks are strictly the guns. There is some secondary attacks that are melee, and her Gatling gun is one of them, which, as I demonstrated, we can block. So yeah, the fact that you got to really watch her movement and make sure you're able to telegraph her attacks, because not a whole lot of ways where you can dodge a firearm. You can, I mean, for some reason you're able to block it because we're freaking Date Masamune, but you can't really dodge it. So you got to be able to telegraph her attack. She's also fire elemental, if I didn't say so before, which duh. All right, we defeated her. So now no one stands between us and the Devil King. Now, anybody beating Nobunaga one-on-one is kind of unrealistic when you think about the anime's contemporaries, because they at least had to have Yukimura and Masamune team up against him. Alright, guys. Put your guns on! Let's party! Good job, Nobunaga. You successfully set your temple on fire here. And you're just chilling here waiting for us to come attack you like it's no big deal. Damn, talk about menacing. Nothing we can't handle, though. Obviously, I want to deal with all the other enemies in the room. They will not respawn once we've dealt with them. But Nobunaga is a very tough opponent. I'm not really as worried about him as I was against some of the other bosses. Mainly because if we fight him one-on-one, we can still telegraph all of his attacks really easily and whatnot. But I am worried about a few things. He does have some really nasty attacks, and he changes up his attack pattern a little bit the more he loses health. And he has some nasty secondary attacks that are pretty much impossible to dodge. Fortunately, he is a big target. He doesn't dodge us very easily. He's pretty easy to deal with for the most part. As far as dealing damage to him goes, we can even air juggle a bastard. But the downside is he does have very powerful attacks. His secondary attack with his shotgun there is very difficult to telegraph, but you can block it. And if he uses it, he probably won't just shoot you once in the middle of a sword combo. He will probably shoot you continuously until he has a full combo going, because you can do that with Nobunaga, and it's really cheap. That's the attack I'm really worried about, though, is he has that attack where he shoots a bunch of swords up from the ground, and it's pretty much impossible to dodge unless you know it's coming and you have enough distance from between you and him. But it's really evil. It deals a lot of damage, and I just don't want to have to deal with that. So yeah, this is pretty much it for once we beat him, we're done with Masamune's campaign. Next, we're moving on to Yukimura. Probably going to take a little break from this to finish up the other two Let's Plays I'm working on right now. And then after Yukimura, like I said, we have those other two characters. So let me know what you guys think as far as who else you want to see me play as. Not every character will end up fighting Nobunaga either, because some characters are allied with him to where he will not be an opponent on the map. Or sometimes he can just straight up lose, like other factions can take him out. It's very unlikely. In fact, the fact that he's right there in the center kind of is very advantageous for him. Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the shotgun. He also has a secondary attack where he swings his cape around, which is pretty powerful when you're playing as him, but I don't think he ever really does that when you're fighting against him. He has this just ridiculous looking sword, which deals darkness elemental damage, of course, because he is darkness elemental. I mean, what else would he be? They call him the Devil King, after all. This is certainly a battle of speed and attrition, and I'm running out of health. Alright, that's it. That's all the health I'm gonna get. Blast off! Yeah! Great level, great level. Alright, so that's it for Masamune's campaign. Join me next time for Sanada Yukimura on Let's Play Sengoku Basara for the HD collection. We made a pretty good time. The first level took us the longest by far.